much for spending your afternoon with me. I am so proud to be a part of Fortnightly. I feel welcomed here. And I'm very proud that today is my daughter's birthday. And I don't think I could get her a better gift than to show her how much I treasure the friendship of women. That's a gift, and I wanted her to know that. And so I'm very, very proud to share stories of the children that I work with. The Nourishment Projects is a global online learning platform that supplements education. Education is normally about acquiring, at the most it culminates in acquiring a degree. Learning is a lifelong endeavor. And so what the Nourishment Project does is it encourages curiosity and critical engagement. The participants, because it's a lifelong endeavor, are from ages 8 all the way to the mid-80s. So learning never stops. As of right now, the affiliations are University of Chicago, and we have a representative, Sharon, from there. The Chicago Zoological Society, Museum of Advanced Photography, Academy of Global Citizenship, which are charter schools in Chicago, and the Newberry Library. And I gave the ones that are in Chicago because I want to limit it to where this is happening in our city. And so, as I said, there is no flavor of competition or testing in the Nourishment Projects. It is called the Nourishment Projects because it nourishes a love of learning to cultivate a discerning mind. And the discernment shows up in this. It cultivates perspective, empathy, and creativity. Taken together, those three characteristics are that of a great leader. And a leader, when you have problems, whether it be professional or personal, the way that you approach it so that you can see from the myriad of perspectives the problem in its entirety, apply creativity to come up with solutions, and have the empathy to understand what are the end results and the people that it affects. So you want to have that sort of a leadership. And truly, the right word is an aristocratic leader, which is the real aristocracy of thought. So with that, what today I want to do is limit the examples to the K through 12 arena. And I'll start with the ones at University of Chicago. So as you can see the children here, they're playing with pipe cleaners. In this scene, what they were doing, they were building nests with pipe cleaners. And very soon they realize how difficult it is to make a nest. And then they realize birds do it with twigs and without hands. That's rather a feat. And the reason for doing this, I'm showing this as an example of creativity because they're elementary school children, 7, 8, 9 years old. They learn through fun. The method of delivery is fun. And it's done through interdisciplinary methods. So all the subjects they learn during the day, it culminates. So I'm going to give you an example of the program as it ran over the summer. It's still running there now, but this is a concrete example. What I wanted them to know is a sense of community, a global community, and that the sense of community is not just you and your friends and your family, it's all flora and fauna, life in its entirety. So we start simply with nests. Nest design. So everything in this program is pretty much available free online so they can learn on their own. So I use a lot of the YouTube and the World Wide Web. I use it to connect. So I showed them pictures of nests from around the world. A kingfisher's nest is very different because they catch fish, there are holes in the ground in the riverbank, versus a woodpecker's nest in the hollow of a tree, a hummingbird's nest, different in every aspect, and a condor lives up in the cliff somewhere. And so when they have an idea what's going on, and throughout it, I incorporate art. I think if you want to have empathy, you must have arts and the humanities. And so in the background, while they are learning about this, I play through YouTube again, music, dancing, opera. In this one, I played Saint-Saëns' The Swan, because there's a lovely video where you have Yo-Yo Ma playing music, and there's a dancer called Little Buck dancing to it. And with the I Wish You Were There, within 10 seconds, all these second graders, they're 8 years old, jump up and start dancing. It's charming, and I swear to God, it was such a lovely thing. This little girl was twirling around, twirls up to me, gives me a hug, beams, and says, "I love Yo Mama music." I did not want to correct her. I said, "Yes, I love Yo Mama music too." I am sure if Yo-Yo Ma ever found out, I mean, it's ideal. This is exactly what he wants, someone who didn't know who he was, couldn't care less, just loved the music, and it moved her. And so then they draw the nests. And the next week I come back, and in this case it was garden, because where else will you find a nest but in a garden? So I showed them different gardens around the world. Victorian gardens, Japanese gardens, rock gardens. Could somebody just press that button? I'm so sorry, thank you. You know, and Islamic gardens where they pivot around water. And over time, we talk about gardens, and in this case, the music playing in the background was the opera Lakme, the flower duet music, because it's appropriate. The song is the jasmine. And then they draw gardens and nests. When you go to neighborhood design, so you get the idea, it's like a Russian doll egg. I showed them neighborhoods from around the world the week after that. I showed them, you know, how they live in the caves in the mountain in Petra in Jordan, homes for Eskimos. Rajasthan, they live in the desert by the Thar Desert. In Africa, how they live. And then I asked them, draw your neighborhood, how it is, and how, you know, they'll reveal in their neighborhood drawing. You will see if they're showing bookshops and libraries, you know where that mind is of the child. Often they show, you know, parks and sports, and sometimes they have bowling alleys. It also reveals what's missing in the picture. It's a great revelation. And then finally, in the home and the world, I asked them, where do you want this neighborhood of yours to be? And I showed them the world. If you want to live in the deserts, Karen, I showed them Namibia. If you do want to live by the ocean, by the beach, you show them Bora Bora. Things that they do not see. Do keep in mind, these are children that are, you know, euphemistically called underprivileged. I mean, in the simplest word, it's in a poor neighborhood. Oftentimes, when you initially ask them, they would say, where would you like to live? They'll go as far as Texas or Florida. Over the time, when they see that the world is embracing, and the example is me, I grew up in India, yet I live here. If I had the same fear, I would never be here. Perhaps you'd be luckier, but here I am, and I love it here. And so what I want to do is give you an example of a drawing that they have done. And I had real fun curating which examples I want to share, and I hope I picked one that reflects the interest of the members and my friends, and so I picked the one from the garden. And so I described many gardens, and because the Fortnightly is going on a garden trip next year, I chose one and I described to them the Moon Garden in Sissinghurst, England. For those who have maybe not seen it, it's a white garden. So the entire garden is nothing but white flowers. White pansies, white peonies, white Mexican poppies, you know, white irises with silver leaf. It's just a foam of silver and white. And when you walk in there, you gasp, and then you realize, here comes discernment. The real time to watch it is when dusk descends. As it gets darker, the luminescence blooms, because in half-light, non-color flowers bend infrared and ultraviolet light into the visible spectrum. My engineering comes in handy. Yeah. But I talk about this with the children because you're marrying art and science together. And so then I say, you know, at that point, you can hear the ecstasy of the insects calling out. You can smell the perfume. And then you realize, the actual time to watch and see that garden, you can schedule this on a full moon night, when the light of the eerie radiance of that moonlight bathes in a pearly luster. It's an entirely different setup. One can imagine it, and you think nothing better. Or so I thought. I was wrong. My daughter was like, really? I'm frequently wrong. In this case, ooh, can someone scroll that up, please? I'm so sorry. It just, if I may, again, sorry. I don't know what's up with the computer. Oh, yes, please. All you do is scroll down. Yes, you go view full screen. Wonderful. So if you look at it, so remember I had shown the children lots of examples of garden. But this is what an 8-year-old Jordan drew his moon garden. He drew the garden, he festooned it with white flowers, and so on an eclipse night, you see this white garden floating in the heavens. Truly a celestial sight. He's 8. Imagine this child at 20. The vividness of his imagination is staggering, and we often miss it because we have this preponderance of studying data. I think it's a shame. That other example, old masters, I just really feed their heads with all the things that I love. Velázquez, I chose this painting because of the dwarf. I mean, there's no other term. I mean, it's not Snow White and the Little Men, it's Snow White and the Dwarfs. So in the Spanish courts, dwarfs adorn the Spanish courts, and that's the reason I chose this painting, to have a discussion about the acceptance of diversity. And so, you know, what a docent will tell you all the time, you talk about, you see the king and queen standing in the area where the audience would be reflected in the mirror, and there is Velázquez looking out at the audience. Is he painting you in? And up shoots a hand. Remember again, 8-year-old goes, "Hey, Miss Soma, it's a selfie." And I'm like, well, yeah, that is a selfie. Velázquez painted himself in. But you know, humorous as it is, and it is humorous, it becomes relevant to the child. And because it's relevant, they have an interest. And then perhaps they go to the museums, and if they can't afford it, they look it up online. The world really is available on their fingertips, and that's what I want them to understand. And so now I'm so proud of this one. This is what the program is going on currently. I am an unabashed lover of nature. Biodiversity conservation means the world to me. I mean, to no small measure is the symbol of the program a sapling. So what they're doing now is I have asked every week, you know, I run class there once a week. I give them a question, they all have a notebook, and they answer that question by researching it, because research is important, and they draw the story out. And they've been told, so there are 30 kids in the class, they will be given